Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Rig It Live on Monday with the coach here at Big Bite Baits. Brandon, everything going good with you today?
Yeah, man, it's going great.
Well, that's me too. I definitely look forward to talking with you every Monday on these shows and talking a little bit about some different Big Bite baits and some things that go on. Before we go any further, we might as well go ahead and hit the clothing line first. I think we always do that first. Maybe we need to change it up. But anyway, I do want to hit this hat again. I don't understand. People, I've been getting mixed reviews on my hat. I like this retro hat now. It looks good, and it's got, the thing I like about it the best is it's got the old logo on it that we used for years. It's got the little yellow fish. It's kind of neat. All we did was change the font on the print and to kind of modernize it a little bit, but definitely it's a Pacific hat. It wears really good, so check that out and get you one of those off the internet and give it a try. I think once you get it in your hand, you'll like it for sure.
Yeah, it's
$24.99.
Yep, that's right.
Definitely, but
I like that one.
The retro series. So, man, last week we were here. We had Michael Neal on with us, and man, it was so entertaining. He actually talked about some things I thought was pretty interesting. I really liked what he said about how he broke the lake down on his tournaments, and it wasn't about maybe covering the whole lake. He covered an area, and he said it was all about covering water. And that was really interesting to me that he didn't kind of spread himself too thin.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake that maybe a lot of tournament anglers make nowadays. You know, you've got these big motors on these bass boats now.
You more cover so lots of ground.
You can go a long ways off, and if you know, especially like if you've got time to practice, you can get spun out. I mean, trying to fish too much.
While you're running 60 miles down the lake, he's catching fish already.
That's right.
So definitely, I thought that was really interesting. Did you find anything you thought was kind of interesting about some of the things he said?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the technology of today, you know, there's a lot of information, especially online, that you can access about techniques and, you know, the whole variety of, you know, how to fish, you know, 100 different techniques.
That's right. Well,
he talked about trying to, you know, that's important, but being good at 4 or 5.
Finding you something that fits your comfort zone. If you didn't, 2 or 3 different types of rod and reels, just something that you're comfortable with, kind of have you a go-to. I thought that was kind of unique and pretty informative as well.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be a flipping stick or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
that was neat. You know,
you see that a lot with pros. Like
definitely, if they didn't see that last week or listen, they missed out on a lot. I thought he gave us a lot of good information in a short time, and we do appreciate him doing that for us for sure. We'll look to have some more of our anglers on in the future, but that was definitely good. So today I thought I would spend a few minutes and talk about 2 baits. You know, I went back and tried to figure out through my notes things that we hadn't covered. I know next week I'm going to do a show on jerk baits, something we haven't covered. So today we've got a couple of variations in our trick stick that we haven't ever talked about, and if we have, it's been so long ago I can't remember. So I thought we'd go back and maybe touch on 2 of the parts of our trick stick series I think that are very good and might fit your style of fishing, you know, something that you might like to do. So let's just start first of all talk about the Wacky Stick. It's a 5-inch trick stick. The only difference is it's infused with an O-ring in the middle of it. And if I hold it up real close, I think you might be able to see the O-ring. But that is put in there for one purpose, and that's to wacky rig this bait, to hook that Jessie in the middle and pull her and catch fish on her. And as you well know, that's a real productive way to catch fish. And we do this in like 12 of the best catching colors. And if you want to even fine tune it more, we make a head already designed for this, a wacky head. You can buy our wacky head and put it in and just hook it down the middle. The nice thing about that ring is it's almost indestructible. You've got to tear the bait up to get the ring out of it. And that stops having to sit there on your boat and thread an O-ring down on your bait and all that and kill time. You just pick this bad boy up and put a hook through it and let it roll. And it's a pretty neat idea, I think.
Yeah, I thought one thing that you can probably point out on that packaging there is that both of these you're going to talk about come in that clam.
I was going to do that. Now, we clam these baits, and there's a reason for that because they're made out of a little softer material, and then we put the clam inside the bag. So you'll see that package like that with everything in it. Works out pretty nice, but definitely this is called the Wacky Stick. And then its brother is called the Soft Stick. And the super soft stick is made out of a little softer material than the trick stick. And what that enables it to do is it enables it to sink faster and gets it more to the bottom quicker. And now I will tell you, it will tear up quicker because it's softer and it's made out of a lot more porous material. It does have some the scent put into it. It has some salt in it, some different things like that. But it's a very soft material, and you can actually use it a lot of different ways, just like you could a regular trick stick. And it also comes in the same 12 colors as the Wacky Stick. So these are two baits that we want to talk about. And as far as rigging them, there's no secret how to rig them. I mean, I could sit here and hold up rigs for you. I didn't do that today. I mean, you can Texas rig this, you can Wacky rig this. I mean, you can put on a Carolina rig, whatever you want to do. There's lots of different ways. It'd just be repetitious to sit here and talk about different ways to rig it. And however you fish a normal trick stick, you can fish this super soft stick the same way. It's just softer, and supposedly fish like the bait softer. You know, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I know that I will tell you that, and not trying to keep you from buying the product, it's going to tear up a little bit quicker than a regular trick stick. That's just part of the deal, you know. I mean,
more action.
I think you know that. More action also comes in a clam.
Keeps them
When
nice.
you buy it, keeps them nice and straight. Comes in the same Tour Series bag as the Wacky Stick, but we clam these because they're made of a little softer material, and that way you're guaranteed not to get a crooked bait. Our quality control on this is outstanding. That way you're guaranteed not to get a bait that's warped up in the bag, and I think that's important. So that's something I was going to share today. I thought would be kind of interesting that you might want to talk about. So definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Food for thought. Questions, anything like that.
Yeah, so one of these questions, I think you even have used a bait, you know, like that, rigged on a shaky head. It may be the answer to this question is Southern Fishing was asking what your favorite Texas lake is.
Well, I like to use it. I use that down at Lake Falcon, and that's my favorite Texas lake. I mean, it's way out of the way down there, and I've got a good friend that lives down there, Jimmy Steed, that guides on that lake. But I can tell you, that place is full of big fish, and you can have a nice trip down there. Just give Jimmy a call, and it's enjoyable. But I've been to San Rayburn too, and it's pretty daggum good. Texas is a big state, and it's got lots of nice lakes in it. You know, there's a lot of out of the way places that people don't even know about in Texas that have great fishing, and you know. But definitely, if you want to just go take you a 10-day vacation and go from lake to lake to lake, Texas is a state to do it in. I can assure you.
I think that's probably a good idea too. So this is a question that we kind of covered with Michael. You might can elaborate a little on your perspective. Cantus Fishing asked if you had to pick one bait to use forever, what would it be? What color and why?
That's kind of comical. Me and Michael have the same answer on that. I mean, as everybody knows, if you've been watching the show any length of time, you know that I like the fighting frog. That's my number one. You know, that bait just has so many different uses. You can use it so many different ways. You can use it as a trailer. You can use it, you know, you fish it solo. You can Carolina rig it. You can use it on the back of a football jig, whatever you might want to use it. You know, I just think it's a bite getter. I know, like in this up to like the 1st of June, all through the spring, it's really a good, what I call a bite getter. Probably the second thing I would say that would lay back what we talked about today. If you're not going to use the fighting frog, then some form of trick stick is also another bait that's very durable. You probably can't use it as many ways, but it seems to get lots of bites.
Absolutely.
I mean, definitely the proof's in the pudding on that for sure.
And color, I think, is going to be pretty similar.
Similar, yeah. Any kind of, I won't nail it down because I'll probably tell you tilapia and hematoma, but some type of green pumpkin variant or watermelon red variant would probably be, you know, the top of the list, and then the second one would be some type of dark color for muddy water, either your black and blue or your black neon, something like that.
Okay, I like that. It's kind of funny that you both agreed on that. So
oh yeah, I think the general public as a whole agree on that. If you look at the sales at Big Bite, tilapia and hematoma are the two top sellers. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
Absolutely. Let's see. Breezy Fish Chaser was asking, what kind of strategies do you like to use for fall largemouth?
I like to cover, I think in the fall you got to cover lots of water. Now we've discussed this a little bit before. Here on our lake it's a little different. You just don't catch a lot of fish up in the backs of the creeks. If you do a lot of reading like in Bassmaster and all these different places, they'll tell you in the fall the fish are going to migrate to the back of the creeks and chase shad. That's how you find them and catch them. That doesn't necessarily hold true on the lake that me and you fish on all the time.
Sure.
We have lots of massive flats on this lake, and the fish seem to go to the flats in the fall and chase shad on the flats and feed. So you got to have something you can cover lots of ground. and definitely look for those schools of shad. Wherever you find the bait fish, you're normally going to find some largemouth. You know, you could use a rattle bait, you could use a top water bait like a whopper popper or a buzzing toad or a suicide shad buzz, something you can cover ground with, or you can take an Alabama rig that I've already talked about several times and put you some pro swimmers and some suicide shads on it, and you can cover a lot of ground that way because you're putting out that big whopping rig with all those baits on it. And, you know, fish can't resist it, unfortunately. So there's just, you know, I think the key's covering water in the fall.
I would agree with that. I mean, you know, you definitely get that whole creek mindset when you read stuff.
Oh, definitely.
The book on bass fishing says one thing, but every lake, I think, is a little different.
I think you're probably right about that. I agree.
So,
totally.
Let's see. Gavin Ray was asking, what would you like if you're going to a new lake? What's your kind of mindset on breaking down some new water?
You know, I think everybody has different. I think this is kind of strange for me. I'm more comfortable down toward the lower end of the lake, down toward the dam. Maybe, you know, the water seems to be deeper. It always seems like on the lower end of the lake, there's maybe more things to target. You know, there's like riprap and there's like, you know, lots of points and that type of thing. And I think from that standpoint, you know, you can find more maybe fishable areas as you go up a lake, it channels down, it gets lower, you know, it gets smaller. It may not have as many fishing opportunities. That's kind of how I would look at it. I know that when I've gone to different lakes that I say that I've not been used to, I seem to do better on the lower end of the lake.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that's important to just find somewhere you're comfortable.
I think so too. And I liked what Michael said about that. You know, he said he talked about you know, finding just an area of the lake that you're comfortable with and work in that area. So that was kind of interesting too.
I agree with that. All right, let's see. We've got one more that I want you to touch on, and it was by Lee Joy, and I think you might want to elaborate a little bit. So he was wanting to know, will we see a Sensation BFE?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Brandon. I can't believe you'd ask that. I have to be careful how I answer this. I might make the powers to be at Big Bite squirm a little bit, you know. I do think that they're looking at adding some different shapes. I think it all entails on the sails, how our original, say, 6 or 7 shapes that we've basically already put out sell. But I, as you said, I've already gotten hammered with that question myself, and as to whether or not they would use shapes that we already presently have, or whether or not they would maybe come up with some new designs, I think all that's still kind of in limbo. I mean, from the initial response on it, I think probably maybe that is going to happen in the future. I just can't tell you how long it's going to be and to what scale it's going to be.
Sure.
Definitely. So that's God dodged that question good.
I think that's a good way to answer.
You get an A on that one.
That's right.
Definitely.
Well, I think that'll pretty much do us, right?
Okay, sounds good to me. Well, we've enjoyed it, and when you get a chance, man, check out the subtypes of the trick stick, and we'll see everybody here next week at the same time.